Yo, what's going on YouTube? In today's video, we reacted to some true crimes. Teen murders entire family for his cartoon lover, bruh. What did I just read, bruh? What are you talking about? You murdered your whole family for a cartoon lover. But let's get into it though, bruh.
On June 30th, my sister decided to make the only correct choices in episode 1 of season 1 of The Walking Dead games. And for that to have faced
I'm actually playing this game, by the way. This nigga talking about some Walking Dead.
Mutilated further than necessary.
Okay.
Wait, what's this nigga say? Hold on.
Mutilated further than necessary. One of The Walking Dead games. And for that to have faced will be mutilated further than necessary.
Yo, this nigga gotta go.
Okay,
bro.
I have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, subject to today's trial in court. Anything you do say may be given as evidence.
He said he got
I am the chosen one. Chosen by Clementine.
You surprised me. Thought you were someone else.
I am guided, as Christians are guided by Jesus Christ.
Yes, we've got a male here, he's presented himself to us.
That nigga need help, bro.
There will be no more killings of Larrys in front of Clementine, no more killings of St. John's in front of Clementine.
Is this a skit? Like, seriously, what's wrong with this nigga, bro? What's wrong with this nigga? Something gotta be wrong with this nigga's head, bro.
Overall, Clementine's content will be preserved, maximized. That's the message I want to give out.
When Nicholas Prosper uploaded this video declaring his love and allegiance to a fictitious character from The Walking Dead, it was already too late. His actions, spanning deep into the classification of illegal, had resulted in not one or two, but several lives lost. And among the wreckage, one of those driving forces behind his violent spree was obsession. This is the story about a teen who had an obsession with a cartoon character, an obsession with attention, and, most terrifyingly, an obsession with infamy. And if you add detachment from reality to the mix, alongside a spiral so steep that no one saw it coming, well, you have a recipe for disaster. Welcome back to Coffee House Crime, folks. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at the disturbing case of Nicholas Prosper. Before we begin, if you'd like to see more true crime, strange and chilling stories, then please remember to subscribe, as it really does help the channel out. And now, with that said, please grab yourself a coffee. This is the case of Nicholas Prosper.
Game of Thrones King's Road is now available for both PC and mobile with Google Play Games.
A case of Nicholas Prosper. I'm sorry if I bashed your name.
Welcome to Luton, folks. So, where do we begin? Well, Luton is one of those towns that seems to always come up in the same breath as trouble. It sits just north of London, close enough to feel the capital's shadow, but far enough to be forgotten. Once known for its booming hat industry and Vauxhall car production, those days are now sadly long gone, and what is left is a town struggling to find its newfound footing. Walk through the town centre and you will see exactly what I mean.
That looks like an open mall. That don't even look like a town, bro. That shit looks like an open mall, bro. What kind of town is that? One below Don Miller's Hot. What is that? Head? I can't really read it because the chat's over it, but yes.
It's newfound
that
footing.
like a mall.
Walk through the town centre and you will see exactly what I mean. Boarded up shops and pound stores are found all over, and there is a general sense that things are not what they used to be. Luton has one of the most diverse populations in the country, and while that does bring culture and character, it has also been a flashpoint for tension over the years. Socially, politically, and even from a religious perspective too. Extremism, gang activity and knife crime are, sadly, all parts of the local vocabulary now, and many people across the UK see Luton as one of the most dangerous places to live. It also doesn't help that it's a very ugly place too. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. The markets still run, kids still go to school, and families do what they can. But there is
that's like the hood. That's low key to explain the hood for us black people, bro. Low key.
only an edge here, a heaviness. And although people keep their heads down and get on with their lives, this is a place where things can go wrong very quickly. And in September of 2024, that is precisely what happened. Behind the front door of a quiet apartment, 19-year-old Nicholas Prosper wasn't only slipping through the cracks, but he was planning something unthinkable. And the worst part, is that nobody saw it coming. And so, on that note, meet Nicholas.
Nicholas, we off the preview, this nigga's weird. Alright, that's off the rip, this nigga's weird. He's one of them weird people, bro. You gotta stay far away from him. He talking about some me cherishing Clementine, a game character. Like, come on, bro.
Now, at first glance, Nicholas might seem like your average teenage boy. Born on December the 18th, 2005, and raised in Luton, he grew up in a modest apartment with his mother, Juliana Falcon, and his 2 younger siblings, Kyle.
That nigga like a YN. Look at the way he just did this right here. He look like a YN for real. A little kid. Got braids and everything. The little kid look like he a little badass just off the cut.
It's worth highlighting that his parents would unfortunately divorce when he was only 4 years old, which, of course, would be sure to leave a mark on his personality. But otherwise, and to the outside world, they were just a typical working-class family. Not particularly wealthy, but close-knit and, by all appearances, loving. So, how would I describe Nicholas? Well, he appeared to be smart, academically capable, curious, and also often absorbed in his own world. He didn't seem to cause any trouble, and didn't act out in ways that drew any sort of concern. But even then, there was something that was both inward and awkward about him. He didn't socialize that much, and didn't seem to connect easily with other people his age. Teachers would later describe him as well-behaved, but with...
Fuck. Okay. That's bad. He don't know how to socialize. That's bad.
Drawn. Someone who kept to himself and rarely opened up. In addition to this, he had a deep interest in computers and technology, and would often spend more than several hours online every day. And it turns out, in a digital world where isolation can breed obsession, his dark and weird interests would slowly become a coping mechanism. You see, a few years ago, Nicholas was not violent, at least not outwardly. But what was clear is that he was detached. Taking a brief step back for a moment and taking a look at his family, his mother Juliana was said to be not only supportive, but a fantastic parent. However faint they may be, it is likely that she probably saw the signs that her son was into some weird stuff. And to know how...
That's what happens when you don't go outside, bro. When you don't go outside, you become weird. It's simple as that, bro. You gotta go outside,
actually shared what he was into yet, but just think of the worst things imaginable. Honestly, this guy is someone that you do not want in your life. Now, Juliana likely had no idea how evil and disgusting her son's world had become, and nothing could have prepared her for what was about to happen. Because behind his silence, something darker had begun to take shape, something that he hid from everyone. So, how does an average teenager become a would-be mass murderer? Well, all of that began on the internet. Now, I don't need to tell you how dangerous the internet can be. I mean, we are quite literally...
How is that possible, though? What is it? Like, it usually by somebody encouraging them. This nigga went on the internet and he's weird. I don't even get it. I ain't gonna lie,
bro. Talking about it in this case, which is precisely why I've decided to team up with NordVPN to sponsor this video and support you if you'd like it. And money back, but in the same breath, it's also a gateway to obsessive That is precisely what would happen. This is the sort of thing that I hate talking about. But it turns out that Nicholas enjoyed watching content involving children in the most disgusting of ways.
Yeah, this nigga's weird, bro. Get this nigga out of here, bro. Simple, bro. What are you talking about, bro? You could, bro. Nah, bro.
In fact, he was so far down the road with it that he was even banned from multiple websites after expressing his desires. To make matters worse, it didn't stop there either, because it appears that that sort of fascination extended to animals and corpses too. Things would worsen throughout 2023. Nicholas spent countless hours engrossed in violent content, particularly fixated on mass shootings like Sandy Hook and Columbine. In fact, he would even begin to search for graphic images of murder victims, look up detailed reports of past shootings, participated in forums which glorified them. He meticulously studied the logistics of past attacks, learning from their own mistakes to plan a more, quote, effective massacre, one that he was beginning to wish that he could be responsible for. As you can imagine, fucking weird, this virtual echo chamber not only desensitized him to violence, but it also fueled his desire to outdo previous mass murderers. And over time, he would become vocal about it too. In one of his online videos, Nick wore a black and yellow outfit while he mimicked the shooters he idolized. In fact, he even went as far to express his own desire to surpass their death tolls. As Nicholas delved deeper into these online communities, he became increasingly
Bro,
isolated.
look at his jacket. That shit don't even got a brand on it. That shit look like a Naruto jacket. This nigga looks goofy,
from
bro.
the real world. He withdrew from friends and family, and spent most of his time alone in his room. His interactions with other people dwindled, and he became detached from reality. It turns out that the isolation was not only social, but emotional too, as moving forward, he showed little empathy or connection to anyone around him. And although
That's how you
his
know you
family
got a
did
mental
notice these
problem when you
changes
feel like
in his
that, bro.
behavior, they were completely unaware of the extent of his radicalization. To them, he was merely a quiet and introverted teenager. However, in reality, he was gushing over violent fantasy.
Ain't no hope for that nigga.
It is
Ain't
worth
no
saying
hope.
that Nicholas's transformation was not sudden or spontaneous. In my opinion, there were several factors at play here. Over
It was
time,
good with y'all
his
to join the
curiosity
live.
would lead
Shit,
him
I
to
like
the
it.
darkest corners
Appreciate
of the
y'all.
internet. And meanwhile, his lack of interest in the real world would slowly detach him from reality. And to add to these two already pertinent issues came one other big problem. Nicholas never had a moral compass. You see, Nicholas had the means to find this content online, but then again, so does everybody. It's just that any normal person would simply not want to.
So this nigga just don't care. Yo, this. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think he was that weird,
Therapy
bro.
has always
This
been
nigga's
such
terrible.
a scary idea to me because
Get out of here
I
with
simply
this.
did not know where to get started. I didn't.
I gotta get
Not
some
for
ad
Nicholas.
blocker.
He had a forever hungry desire. Not only that, but he was becoming obsessed with infamy too, as we have seen in many other cases on this channel. And that is something that he did
What does
not
that mean?
want to stop. By June of
I don't know
2023,
what that
Nicholas had abandoned his education and stopped attending classes. And once he was kicked out of school for his lack of attendance, he then chose to slump in his bedroom and barely made any effort to go outside. He existed in an online dominant world, and apart from attending a gym and working part-time at a supermarket, he chose to have little real-life contact with other people. And although this job of his was a good start, he would eventually be fired only a few months later. Over the course of the...
This nigga's a loser. What do you mean, bruh? You telling me you go to the gym, you don't even look like you go to the gym, bro. Then you get fired a few months after working. Like, it's okay to get fired from a job, but you gotta keep working. You gotta keep going, bro. What is this nigga going through, bruh? This nigga's
Next
tripping,
year,
bro.
Nicholas's twisted fantasies slowly turned into plans, and that is when he started plotting an attack on St. Joseph's Catholic Primary School. No surprise,
Bro.
that being the one that he used to attend.
Please don't
It's
tell
worth
me no
highlighting
kids in
here
there,
that
bro.
there were no ill feelings towards the school, its teachers, or its students. Nicholas just merely wanted to cause harm. The reason why he chose this school was simple. It was that he was familiar with its layout and its routines. Seeing Adam Lanza as a role
Ugh,
model,
get the fuck off my
Nicholas's
screen. I
goal
noticed
was to
this
kill at
nigga's-
least
bruh.
34
Get this nigga off my
individuals,
screen,
so
bruh.
that he could go down in history as someone who exceeded the death tolls of the Virginia Tech shootings. In the months that followed, and under the guise of being a parent, he phoned the school to inquire about their daily schedule, hoping that he could then map out the routines of children and staff. And moving forward, only weeks later, he would also carry out a disturbing level of reconnaissance. He scrutinized the school's website, saving images of both pupils and teachers, and collecting faces like they were targets. He would even sketch out the early years classrooms, meticulously mapping all
This
of it
nigga
out
has so
using
much time,
notes.
he's doing
and
dumb
right
shit.
next to that hand-drawn layout, he scribbled the chilling words, "Kill all," just to add a sprinkle of
Oh,
cringe
so
to the
intimidating,
mix.
nigga.
But Nicholas would also select Friday the 13th of September 2024 as the date of his attack, believing that this would add some sort of notoriety
This
to
nigga's
his
a lame,
actions.
bro.
And here
Lame as
comes the
hell.
tricky part of his plan, which surprisingly he pulled off. To execute his plan, he needed a gun, and if he wanted one of those, well, he would have to forge a firearms license. And so that is precisely what Nicholas did, with a fake deputy signature and address to match. And as it turns out, that would work for him. He then successfully purchased a firearm online, claiming that he needed it for clay pigeon shooting. He also designed a very specific outfit that
What kind
he
of
would
firearm
wear
you
during
buy?
the
What y'all
attack,
think?
aiming to create a recognizable image that associated him with the massacre. And if you're wondering, yes, it is that awful black and yellow costume.
Yeah, that nigga looks goofy, bro.
Now,
That
before we
nigga
go
looks
any
so
further,
stupid.
there is one other obsession that Nicholas seemed to harbour, and this is a weird one. Nicholas had a deep fixation over Clementine, a fictitious young girl from the video game The Walking Dead.
I can't believe this nigga's for real, bro. He got a deep fascination for a game character. My nigga, what?
And let's just say that this was not normal fan admiration. He didn't just see Clementine as a fake character, but a actual real person. Someone not only to protect, but also to avenge. And even more disturbingly, he felt intrinsically bonded to her. I mean, this guy would quite literally write about her in his journals, not only as if she were real, but also like she needed him. And if that wasn't strange enough already, he actually saw himself as her hero. And he was ready not only to save her, but to kill for her. Now, emotional intensity aside, the thing that made this so deeply troubling wasn't only the fact that she wasn't a real person, but it was that she was a child. And knowing what kind of predator Nicholas
that's what makes it
I'm
worse
sure you
too.
can connect the dots.
That's what
now,
makes it
of
worse.
course, this sick obsession would show not only how far detached from reality Nicholas was becoming, but also how dangerous he could be. The question now is, how far would he go? So, circling back to the clip at the beginning of this video, you may have connected the dots by now. Nicholas saw himself as Clementine's protector, and when he saw his sister play The Walking Dead in front of him, and then, in the video game, choose to kill someone in front of Clementine, well, bizarrely, this sent Nicholas into a rage, therefore leading him to make this video in full.
On June 30th, my sister decided to make the only correct choices in episode 1 of season 1 of The Walking Dead games, and for that her face will be mutilated further than necessary.
Whoa, hold on.
The only correct choices in episode 1 of season 1 of The Walking Dead games, and for that her face will be mutilated further than necessary. I also recall a video by Living Echoes on YouTube, Best of Lee and Clementine Definitive Edition. It was a compilation. And he decided to kill Larry in front of Clementine. And then I later learned he decided to kill St. John's in front of Clementine. I am the chosen one.
Shut your dumb ass up, bro. What the hell you talking about, bro? This nigga is stupid as hell. Bro, do you not hear yourself, bro? Bro, what do you mean you the chosen one? You the goofiest one in the world, bro. You gotta be one of the goofiest niggas I've ever heard in my life. And I'm not even lying. This nigga's goofy. NGTA, Twitch. NGTA. I'm trying to get banned.
Chosen by Clementine, I am guided, as Christians are guided by Jesus Christ.
This nigga's an idiot, bro.
And there will be no more killings of Larrys in front of Clementine, no more killings of St. John's in front of Clementine, and overall Clementine's content will be preserved, maximised. That's the message I want to give out.
You want more
That
fire?
nigga's stupid.
You think you can scale your
What are you
business
talking
on
about,
excuses? Drink.
While Nicholas spent his nights buried in violent fantasies and his days slipping into further isolation, life would carry on for the rest of his family at home. It is easy to forget that, at the time, he was still living with his mother and his 2 younger siblings. And although their household was far from picture perfect, Juliana was doing everything that she could to hold it all together. Life as a single mother can be tough, but at least Raymond was around for his children from time to time. Juliana did seem to notice the troubling signs that both teachers and classmates had started seeing at school. Not only was her son becoming distant and withdrawn, but he was increasingly difficult to reach, and this was especially noticeable after the year 2022 once he transitioned into college. As we know, that brief
Hey man, you gotta stay far away from this nigga. This nigga's too weird. He gonna kill her one time. I'm already knowing. NGTA, Twitch, NGTA.
Abruptly, once he was expelled, and whatever hope she had for him regaining structure or direction would quickly slip away. But in the background, Juliana was working full-time to support her family, and despite everything, strongly stood by her son. She loved Nicholas deeply, and she wanted to help him. And so, with that in mind, both she and Raymond agreed to refer him to local mental health services. From the outset, autism was strongly suspected. Nicholas struggled with social situations situations, recoiled from group interaction, and often seemed to be uncooperative in lessons. However, no official diagnosis was ever made. He resisted the process entirely. It was quite clear that he didn't want any help whatsoever, and maybe he believed that he didn't need it. As the people around him began to silently worry, he was thinking only of one thing: September the 13th. His preparations were now picking up speed, and there was no sign of slowing down. September the 12th, 2024. For most families across England, it was just an ordinary Thursday night, the humdrum final hours of a working week before the weekend. But inside the quiet apartment home in Enfield, North London, something far more sinister was unfolding. After having taken possession of a shotgun and 2 boxes of cartridges
not a fucking
one day
shotgun,
prior,
bro.
Nicholas was now
Why do you gotta use something crazy like
Throughout
that?
the evening, and while his family slept only rooms away, he sat behind his computer screen obsessively researching. It was during this evening that he spent an entire hour reading about the impact of shotgun injuries to the neck. It was becoming clear that not only was this supposed to be the weapon used to kill other people, but also the very one that he planned to die by. However, his browser history did not stop there. Throughout the night, he read more case studies of school massacres, viewed reports on the murder of Sarah Everard, and then, chillingly, began to look at images of necrophilia. At 4:11 a.m. and while the rest of the house
I did not know this
silent,
nigga was
he
this
sat in
weird,
the
bro.
dark
This is
watching
crazy.
extreme animated
This is
pornography.
crazy,
Half an
bro.
hour had passed, and then at 4:42 a.m., the last images he looked at were photos from school shootings, with Columbine being among them. It was kind of like he was trying to soak himself in the horror one final time, a ritual and a farewell before his own final actions. He then began to prepare his bag, loading both the weapon and ammunition inside. His plan was to leave at dawn, make his way to his old primary school, and then unleash his unspeakable violence. However, what Nicholas didn't count on was that only hours before his departure, he would be confronted by his own mother, Juliana.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Juliana had
Don't do
woken
it.
early.
Don't
What
do
she
it, bro.
found would change everything. And in that moment, Nicholas crossed a violent line that he could never come
What'd he
back
do?
from. Only a few seconds later, next-door neighbours who were on the other side of the wall and below them could hear a severe disturbance.
Not a
They had
shotgun.
no idea what was going on.
Come on,
But
bro.
of course, we know that Juliana was being attacked. Her son, that being the boy that she had raised and nurtured for so many years,
this nigga
was
serious,
now
man?
preparing for murder. And tragically, his mother was on that list. That is when he raised his gun and shot his own mother point blank in the face.
Oh
Juliana
my
tragically died instantly.
God,
the
bro,
body
this nigga
collapsing
is
in the
weird.
hallway. It isn't clear if he did this immediately after or a few minutes later, but he would then place a book on her legs. And that book was titled How to Kill Your Family. His 9-year-old sister Giselle must have woken up from the gunshots because only moments later she got out of bed and started walking towards the hallway. That is when Nicholas saw her from across the room and fired towards her. Giselle had no idea what was going on,
Bro,
but what
what's
she
wrong
did
with
know
this nigga?
is
Like,
that she
seriously.
was now terrified
This
of her.
nigga's pissing me off, bro. Cause why are we shooting her? You weirdo. Just shoot, bro. You already bad enough. You killed your own mom. Go out and be weird somewhere else. Stop doing that, bro. Like, what's wrong with this nigga, bro?
And that is when she ran into the living room and tried to hide behind furniture. But to Nicholas, this was all part of the plan,
I don't even want to hear
and so
this
he
shit,
followed
bro.
her. And when he found her, he
Dog.
raised the gun to her right eye and fired. Meanwhile, his brother Kyle tried to
What
do
the
something a little
fuck?
bit different. He ran towards the kitchen and armed himself with a knife. But this seemed to only anger Nicholas further. Nicholas then shot Kyle in the chest, but this did not kill him. Instead, he grabbed the kitchen knife off his brother and stabbed him more than 100 times. By the way, the number of stab wounds would indicate that this homicide was extraordinarily emotionally charged, and so Nicholas was likely furious with his brother. And if you're wondering, Nicholas stabbed him in the face, head, neck, torso, and all
Bro,
over his
what's
limbs.
wrong with this nigga?
He really did not hold back here. Despite the severe trauma and while being stabbed, Kyle would then drag himself into the hallway where he saw his own mother's body. And then, in that final second, Kyle raised the shotgun and shot him in the head too.
Dog, this nigga
At
is so
5:29
fucking
a.m.,
weird,
the first
bro.
call was made to emergency services. Police arrived on the scene 21 minutes later at 5:50,
Yo,
and
Game with
by
Mello, what's
6:08
going on?
a.m., officers had forced entry into the apartment. What they found inside was a blood-soaked nightmare. Blood was found across the
This
walls,
nigga's so
floors,
fucking
and
gross,
ceiling,
bro.
and all 3 family members were confirmed dead at the scene. Detectives found several knives at the crime scene, all of which were bent out of shape. They would also find the book that Nicholas had left behind resting on his mother. But as for Nicholas himself and his shotgun, they were gone. A surveillance camera captured Nick
Man,
leaving
fuck
the
this
flat
nigga,
at
bro.
5:33 a.m., only 4 minutes after the
Somebody
first
gotta
call
just put
was
this nigga
made,
down,
and for the
please.
next 2 hours, he evaded the police like a worm. At 6:22, and while crouched in a bush near his flat, he posted a pre-recorded video to Facebook.
Hey, if y'all ain't know, this nigga is in love with a game character, bruh. This nigga's weird. He likes a game character named Clementine.
That being
Come
the one
on,
about
bruh.
Clementine and his sister. By now, the area was swarming with police officers, and Nicholas realized that he was far too early for his plans, because school hadn't even started yet. His timeline had shifted into unrealistic territory, and his plan was now falling apart. At 7:55
Yeah,
a.m.,
yeah, nigga,
Nicholas
let's go.
left his hiding spot and walked down Birmingham Road towards a passing police car, which he flagged down with a raised hand. Here, officers noticed that his hands, clothes, and even his glasses
Was
were
bloody.
covered in blood.
Okay.
Take him
Not
out.
to say anything, but it may harm your defence.
Fuck
if you
the
do not
rest.
mention
Shoot this
when
nigga, bro.
questioned. Something today's trial in court.
Just kill him,
Anything
bro.
you do say, you may be given an evidence.
And GTA.
Birmingham Road. 46 priority. Birmingham Road. I think we've got the offender.
It's not murder.
Yes, we've got a male here. He's presented himself to us. Can we just get another
Look at this nigga's fit.
Nicholas believed that
This
all
nigga
the
looks
schools in the
goofy as
area
hell,
would now
bro.
be locked down, and so his plan was ultimately foiled. It was for this reason that he decided to surrender. But the reality is that life carried on as usual, and no school had shut. This means
Thank
that, technically,
God,
if he had
bruh.
tried, then
Thank
he may have
God.
even succeeded in his plans. A knife was found in his pocket, and although he had abandoned his shotgun and all 33 cartridges, all of them were recovered along the route between the tower block and the school. He had also discarded 2 mobile phones along the way. But when police officers questioned Nicholas, he didn't seem distressed at all. In fact, he seemed to be quite cheerful. He made casual conversation with the police, and would even ask
What?
if the local schools had now gone into lockdown. It is noted that he showed no
Yeah, this
emotion,
nigga's-
no panic, no mental breakdown, and no stress. He seemed to be just a calm, collected young man, proud of what he had achieved, but also disappointed.
Oh, torture him. And GTA. Torture him in GTA. What's wrong with this guy? He is a real demon. I've never heard
that
some
his
shit like
plans
this before.
hadn't gone further.
I heard niggas do crazy shit.
Moving into
This
the
is
legal
crazy.
proceedings of this case, Nicholas was charged with 3 counts of murder and a whole range of other charges too, including illegal possession of a shotgun and forging a certificate to buy one. It is worth highlighting here that during their investigation, officers would find hundreds of indecent images of children on Nicholas's phone, but due to the severity of the other
Bro.
crimes he was facing, no additional charges were issued. Which I do find weird and incredibly frustrating, because if you're found with incriminating evidence, then surely you should be held accountable regardless, right? Well, unfortunately, you'll soon learn that this is only the first frustrating decision made by the judiciary system. More on that in a moment. Similar to many other British cases that I've covered, which include young men, Nicholas gave very little away in his interview the following day. And if you forgot what that looks like, here it is.
Fucking ass.
Game of Thrones
Yo, this
King's
nigga
Road
is
now available
off
on
the
both
chain
PC and
weird,
mobile with
like-
Google Play Game.
Did you kill them?
No comments.
Police got called there to a disturbance and found your mum, brother and sister dead.
Answer, nigga.
Explain to me what happened.
No comments.
Did you kill your mum, brother and sister?
No comments.
Is it your shotgun?
No comments.
Shut up,
The
nigga.
shotgun
Shut your
that was
ass
used
up.
to kill your mum and your brother and sister?
No comments.
I mean, I can confirm that this knife was taken from you by police officers, okay?
No comments.
Shut
why
up,
would you have
nigga.
that knife in-
Somebody just need to just grab this nigga by his neck and just in GTA. But they just need to just choke this nigga out, wake him back up to life, and do it again in GTA, and torture this nigga in GTA, bro.
Pocket.
No comments.
It's obviously covered in blood. Whose blood is that?
No comments.
Have you stabbed someone with that knife?
No comments.
When police got there and found your mum, your brother and your sister, on your mum, or right next to her, is a book called How to Kill Your Family. Have you ever
It's
seen
on up to it,
books
nigga. You got too much
with a cover
evidence.
like that at at
Too
your
much
home
evidence.
address?
You gone for life, bro.
Does it belong to you?
No
Or
comments.
does it belong to someone else living there?
No comments.
Have you ever touched that book? Because it was found right next to your mum.
No comments.
Was it just a coincidence that your mum fell where that
This
book was?
nigga.
No comments.
Have you read that book?
No comments.
Book with that title was right next to your mum. Has it got any significance?
No comments.
Have you been planning how to kill your family?
No comments.
Did you get any tips from that book?
No comments.
After his arrest,
Yeah,
Nicholas
this nigga's a
didn't
joke.
only confess to the killings, but he also
bro.
revealed something far more chilling. While speaking with a mental health nurse in custody, he calmly explained that he'd spent the past year planning this massacre and intended to leave 34 people dead and then end with him.
Imagine giving birth to this nigga. Like, I wouldn't even, bruh. If I knew my kid was gonna grow up to be this, I wouldn't even want to be alive in GTA. I wouldn't even want to be alive if this is my kid, bro.
taking his own life. He told the nurse that only 1 year prior, he had tried and failed to rob a gun dealer, and so, after going back to the drawing board, he forged a gun certificate instead. I mean, the fact that this even worked is horrifying. Yet, even still, that is not the worst of it. He admitted that his original plan before the school shooting was to kill his family first while they slept. And if that wasn't enough already, he also planned to sexually assault his very own sister. I mean, that's not just evil, that is outright disgusting. Genuinely, it's the kind of confession that will really make your stomach turn. Once his family were dead, Nicholas then said that he would have left the flat around 8:30 in the morning, arrived at St. Joseph's Primary School by 9 AM, and then enter a classroom and pretend to rob the teachers, before then doing his deed. But as we know, in the early hours of that morning, something that he never anticipated happened. His mother woke up early and interrupted his plans.
Oh, I thought he said his mom woke up after getting shot in the face, nigga, in GTA. I'm about to say, how you take a bullet like that? How you take a shotgun to the face? That would be unpopular, bruh. Come on,
His
bruh.
grand scheme was thrown off course. If you think about it, her waking up early is probably one of the most tragic things that could have ever happened to her. But in doing so, she likely saved dozens of children's lives. And on that note, I really do believe that we should remember Juliana not as a victim, but a hero instead. While on trial, it came out that Nicholas had already been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. But the judge would make it very clear here. This diagnosis did not prevent him from understanding the nature of his actions. It was evident that he knew exactly what he was doing. I mean, he had quite literally been
outside,
doing this for
Goofy.
over a year.
Get some
As always,
social
I think
life,
it's important
nigga,
to
weirdo.
clarify here that autism does not mean that someone is violent or lacks empathy. Millions of people live with autism, and they are no more likely to commit violence than anyone else. At his first court appearance back in September of 2024, his father Ray shouted something that shocked everyone who stood nearby. While Nicholas was being led out of the courtroom, he shouted, "I still love you, son. It's not your fault, okay?" Before then breaking into tears. Now, I understand a parent's love, but seriously...
That's the thing about parent love, bruh. It's so strong. He could do some weird... Bruh, this nigga is not only... like, bruh, this nigga's weird as hell, right? He like kids. He likes kids, bruh. Now, and on top of that, he wants to murder them. In GTA, this nigga is weird, dude.
Not his fault. I don't care how deep your love runs.
I'm
there are some
disowning this
things
nigga.
that cannot and simply should not be excused.
I'm
On February the
disowning.
24th, 2025, Nicholas Prosper pleaded guilty to multiple charges. Again, that including illegally purchasing a firearm, the murders of his mother Juliana Falcon, his sister Giselle, and his brother Kyle, as well as possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life, and possession of a bladed article. Nicholas later refused to attend court for a sentencing, which in turn would delay proceedings until the judge had finally had enough and ordered him to appear. And on March the 19th, 2025, justice, at least in part, was served. As a result, Nicholas Prosper was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 49 years behind bars. But even still, that was not enough for the public.
No, bro, get this nigga away from people. Like, come on, bro.
And it sparked outrage across the nation. Since then, his sentence has been referred to the Attorney's General Office for reconsideration. This process is still ongoing, and so there is a real chance that his sentence may be extended. And honestly, I really do hope this happens. This monster should spend the rest of his life behind bars. I mean, here are the facts. Nicholas is a triple murderer. He wanted to kill 34 more other people, bought a shotgun to do so, and had hundreds of indecent images of children on his phone.
He's not even...
That kind of sounds like the person who should be kept away from society for the rest of his life.
Come on, bro.
And this case leaves us with more than just horror, but questions too. Questions like, how did Nicholas slip through the cracks without anyone noticing? And I'm not just talking about how he actually managed to get hold of a shotgun in the UK, but also his long and terrible history on the internet. Honestly, how did nobody realise this? As a second thought, it really does make you realise how unfiltered and unmoderated the internet can be. This is also a reminder that mental health awareness is not just about support, but prevention too. Because sometimes recognising the red flags can quite literally save lives.
Man, coffee's spitting right now, y'all. Spitting.
Is Mando a product
These ads
that
are
does
getting
what
on
we
my
say?
fucking nerves, nigga.
Before we end this story, I do
let's
want
hear
to
it.
take a moment to remember the lives that were lost here.
Rest in
Juliana
peace.
Falcon
Rest
was a
in peace.
mother, a woman who worked hard, loved fiercely, and was simply trying to guide her children.
Like, they was a
through
beautiful
life.
family
The
too, though.
16-year-old son, Kyle, had his whole future ahead
Look
of
at,
him.
bruh,
and
he's mad because this nigga looks better than him, though. I ain't even,
through
no
life,
homo.
the
This nigga looks
16-year-old
like a damn model. He looks way better than this ugly ass nigga, bro.
son,
That's
Kyle,
crazy.
had his whole future ahead of him, and Giselle, who was only 13 years old at the time, was
Sad.
still discovering who she was. All three of them were innocent,
He shot her in
and
the
they
head.
were taken far too
Like,
soon
come on,
by
bruh.
someone they loved in the most brutal way imaginable. Neighbours described Juliana as someone who lived for her children. Teachers at Lee Manor High School described Giselle as a beautiful soul and a model pupil. And a friend described Kyle, who was passionate about football and boxing, as really nice, confident and welcoming. It is crucial to remember here that these three were not merely victims. They were a family. A mother and her two children who all deserved safety, love and a future.
Rest in peace.
Ironically, Nicholas wanted the world to remember him as some sort of evil and dark Columbine killer, but instead, they will just remember him as some weird, sick individual who is obsessed with cartoon characters.
Weirdo.
Anyway, those are my thoughts, and so concludes the end of this video. But
I hope y'all like that video, bruh. This nigga was weird. You know what I'm saying? If you got somebody in part of your circle like this, either you report them as fast as possible, or you go ahead and just report them. I ain't gonna lie, call the cops, my nigga. If you see somebody with some CP on their shit, and GTA COD points on their shit, you call the cops. Alright, you get this nigga up out of here. And if he's watching gore videos in GTA, stay away from him. Alright, this nigga's not okay. But that's it for the video, man. Let y'all like, share, subscribe, bro. I'm gonna post more of these right here. Sad, bro. It really sad out here. This is really what happens out here, bro. So be safe. Safety, bro. Real talk, bro. Share, like, share, and subscribe. Peace.